Hey everyone, it is Ryan Seacrest here. Ready to heat up your summer vacation? Get ready, things are about to get sizzling at Chumba Casino. Your summer getting a whole lot hotter with a special daily login bonus waiting just for you. So sign up now for reels of fun and reels of prizes right here at Chumba Casino with yours truly. Join me at ChumbaCasino.com and dive into a summer of social casino fun.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are part of the Fans First Sports Network. You can follow us on our YouTube channel as well at LA Rams Up. I'm your host, Mark. I'll be joined occasionally by my football gurus, Paul and Ian. Let's get to it. Hey, welcome back, Ram fans. Episode 511 here. Stuff is starting to happen. Rams giving Ernest Jones agents permission to seek a trade. That doesn't mean Ernest Jones requested a trade, as he clarified on Twitter, and the Rams making some moves already other than that as well. The first thing we'll get into is this Ernest Jones situation as shared on the YouTube channel early Sunday afternoon. Let's get into that. Hey, remember a couple weeks ago, Sean McVay came out for a press conference and he wasn't his usual self. His demeanor was a little bit off. Something was going on. Ian noticed it. I watched and I kind of saw it too. And that was the same day the Rams announced that Ernest Jones had that recurring knee injury, the pain in the knee pop up again, and they were going to have to manage his workload. And we thought it was that, and it was probably part that, but it may have also been the ongoing saga, Ernest Jones agents asking for an extension and the Rams not willing to budge, apparently. At least they haven't been able to come to an agreement. And then we hear this morning that the Rams have given Ernest Jones agents permission to seek a trade, and kind of shocking news, really strange news. What does this mean for the Rams roster, their inside linebackers? What does it mean for Ernest Jones? Let's get into that a little bit. First, let's look at this from Ernest's perspective. He is the 13th highest paid Ram. Colby Parkinson, Demarcus Robinson, Darius Williams, Alaric Jackson, the suspended Alaric Jackson, all players making more than Ernest Jones. So you can kind of see where he's coming from. And on the inside linebacker rankings, as far as salary goes, he is buried, not in the top 40. Guys like Matt Milano making $12 million a year, DeMarcus Davis $9.3 million. So it makes perfect sense for Ernest Jones to expect a pay raise. But look at it from the Rams' perspective, especially, they're probably a little bit traumatized from that Todd Gurley extension. What do you do with this guy? It is obviously a great player. But if this knee is going to be a chronic thing and potentially end his career early, it makes perfect sense for them to, not be really eager to give him an extension. They learned their lesson, and inside linebacker is not a critical position. Having Ernest Jones and the way he performed on this defense was kind of like icing on the cake, just a luxury for this defense. But we've been spoiled by his performance. Last year, he had a great year. So I get it. Ernest Jones wants a raise, but I also get it from the Rams' perspective. Dude, we're really sorry about this, but we're not going to do it at this point in the season, even if his knee was healthy. But given the concern about his knee, if the information we have is true, that he is struggling with that knee again, man, how much information do we really have on that, though? Is there some politicking going on by the Rams regarding his knee? If so, it hurts them in their negotiations with Ernest Jones. It certainly does not help them if they're trying to work out a trade. So let's talk about it from a worst case scenario. They move on from Ernest Jones. Who do they got? Omar Speights is going to have to step in and he's going to have to help this defense. I don't think you can roll with Christian Roseboom and Troy Reeder. They would be okay. We can get by with them, Jacob Hummel as well. But I'd really be looking at Omar Speights as a guy that's going to have to step up and, steep learning curve, jump in and contribute to this defense. I think he has what it takes. I think he really does. He had a really good season at Oregon, transferred to LSU. Not the best year. That hurt his draft status, but he has what it takes to be a starting linebacker. Is he an Ernest Jones caliber inside linebacker? Probably not, but he is the only linebacker on this roster, aside from Ernest Jones, that can really create havoc, make splash plays, and carry the load as a starter, the number one linebacker in this defense. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm just being a little hopeful here, overly hopeful that Omar Speights can step in, but not really excited about a defense with Hummel, Roseboom, and Reeder rotating through there. Although, Troy Reeder did start. I don't know if he actually started, but he contributed significantly to a Super Bowl win over the Bengals. Now I'm going to do some second guessing here. Should the Rams have drafted an inside linebacker over the last 2 years? 2023, it might have been tough. All the picks they had, they went with Warren McClendon, Davis Allen, Puka Nacua, and then Nick Hampton with a guy like Henry Tuotu out of Alabama. He's a starter for the Texans now. Probably butchered that last name. Hey, you look at the spelling, you tell me how to pronounce it. Hey, hindsight's 2020. Is Henry out of Alabama? Would he have been a sensible pick rather than Nick Hampton? Who knows? But given the current situation, if they were to move on from Ernest Jones, I think Henry would be of more value to the Rams than Nick Hampton, the silent assassin. Sorry, Nick. It's all about balance on this roster. We seem to be actually, you're in pretty good shape on the edge potentially. And then in 2024, this year's draft, should they have selected someone like Cedric Gray or Tyrese Knight? Gray drafted by the Titans, Knight by the Seahawks. A lot of people think the Seahawks overdrafted Knight. Cedric Gray, he's very similar to Ernest Jones in a lot of ways, I think. So the Rams could have selected one of those guys rather than the safety Cam Kinchens. Again, hindsight's 2020. But, maybe the Rams should have took that route, especially in 2024. Kinchen's probably not going to start right away. Eventually could be a very good player. But in hindsight, I wish they had drafted an inside linebacker. So we'll see where this goes over the next couple of days. Jones will likely be on the 53-man roster unless something happens real quick. And maybe he'll end up sticking with the Rams. If the Rams end up trading or releasing him, it'd obviously be a trade. Only a $200,000 cap hit thereabouts. So not a big deal for the Rams as far as the salary cap goes, dead hits and such. But hopefully they'll figure something out, or, Jones will just decide to stick it out for the Rams and see how things roll with this team. And the Rams will see how his knee is over the first half of the season and maybe end up giving him an extension. I think that's Les Snead's preference, and I think he had stated as such. No extension for Ernest Jones till later in the year, possibly even after the season. We'll see how that goes. Ernest Jones, hoping he sticks around, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this Rams inside linebacking core over the next couple of days. The Rams have also notified Boston Scott that he will be released. And word on the street is from Rams insiders is the Rams will be going with 3 running backs. So this does not mean Zach Evans beat out Boston Scott. It means Boston Scott is being given an opportunity to sign elsewhere. Zach Evans will be waived likely and pushed to the practice squad, assuming no one picks him up. So the first tweak of our roster is here. And, I called out the fact that Boston Scott was playing in this final preseason game was not a good look for him, not very promising for him, but I still thought he'd make this roster. Just thought it was really strange that he was out there and that Sean McVay had said he's going to get a heavy load. And sure enough, should have went with my instincts and predicted this. I would have looked so smart if I had done that, but I did not. I still thought it would be Boston Scott on this roster, with a slight chance Zach Evans would beat him out. And I did say that maybe they'd carry 3 running backs, but I didn't really dwell on that idea very long. Maybe I should have. Looks like the Rams will be carrying 3 running backs, and we'll have to see if that means 7 wide receivers, including Xavier Smith. However, if we apply the same logic that I should have applied to Boston Scott playing, meaning he's not going to make the roster, maybe that means the same for Xavier Smith. We'll find out soon enough. Other cuts filtering in, and by the time you hear this, I will probably already have fallen behind keeping up with all these cuts. Gotta post this pod at some point. O'Shawn Mathis, the first of the Rams' 14 2023 draft picks to get cut. There will probably be a couple more, I have a feeling, but Mathis, I thought he was kind of quiet when he was out there. Pro Football Focus thought he played pretty well, though. I thought he'd make this roster. But with Brennan Jackson finally getting on the field, that pretty much determined Mathis' fate, I think, as far as the 53-man roster goes. Hopefully he gets through waivers and the Rams can get him on the practice squad. Another guy I thought would make this roster, at least in my most recent initial 53, Carlos Watkins. Apparently outplayed by Corey Durden. I think that's what it means. Corey Durden will be on this roster. Watkins will not. Not sure about Laurel Murchison. He will factor into that decision. Murchison could go on IR to be designated for return after 4 weeks, hopefully. Other cuts, none of these too surprising. Quarterback Dresser Wynn, offensive lineman Matt Caskey, Blake Larson, Alec Lindstrom, and Grant Miller, cornerback Cam McCutcheon, and the running back they just signed the other day, so Roderick Thompson, all cut. The last 2 cuts I am aware of, Olakunle Fatukasi, that linebacker we all starting to fall in love with, he has been cut, as is J.J. Lopp, had that game-winning touchdown. They're both cut as well, and both have a good shot at the practice squad, I think, especially Fatukasi. So as I sit here on a late Sunday afternoon, this is how I see things playing out. Rams have about 46 locks and 7 open spots remaining. How are they going to fill them? Well, quarterback situation is pretty much settled. They got their 2 guys. Running back, looks like 3 guys are going to make this roster: Williams, Corum, and Rivers. Someone speculated that the Rams would cut Ronnie Rivers as well. That is not going to happen. They will waive Zach Evans, however, and roll with 3 running backs. Wide receiver, they got their 6 guys. Xavier Smith, is he going to be at it? And is there possibly a trade for Tutu in the works? It's just speculating here. To me, it just makes so much sense. Tight end, I have 2 guys locked in, and either Hunter Long, Miller Forrestall, or Nico Kalanick is going to get that 3rd spot. We've been thinking Hunter Long all along, and it's probably going to be Hunter Long, but Forrestall and Kalanick both made a case for themselves. Along the offensive line, 8 guys, and that's not including Alaric Jackson. Will they add A.J. Akuri or pick up someone else off the waiver wire? And remember, what could happen is they add A.J. Akuri, and then 2 days later, Akuri gets waived for someone they like more. This type of thing has happened in the past, and it can be devastating to these guys. Guys make the 53-man roster only to be released 2 days later when someone else becomes available that their team likes more, and that could happen to a couple of these guys on the Rams' initial 53. Defensive line, we have our 4 guys. Then you have Corey Durden, Laurel Murchison, and Deshaun Johnson. 2 of these guys will make the roster. Murchison could go on that short-term IR, as I mentioned. I think Durden and Deshaun Johnson could both be at it. Rams could go 7 deep here. We'll see. And outside linebacker, we should probably count Nick Hampton as the 5th guy, with Mathis being cut. Linebacker, inside linebacker, that is 4 guys. That's including Ernest Jones. We've kind of settled on that number for a couple of days now. And defensive back, I have 8 guys penciled in. And hanging out there with a good shot at this roster. Josh Wallace, Charles Woods, Jalen McCullough. Shouldn't count out Cam Lampkin, Trey Tomlinson, and maybe even Jason Taylor. I think 2 of them for sure, possibly 3. I'm thinking McCullough and either Wallace or Woods, or all 3 of them. We'll be back tomorrow. Going to be lots of updates flying in, and I will probably post on the YouTube channel if anything exciting happens. Otherwise, look for another drop Tuesday morning and then the Tuesday night roundtable. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.